Listen in deep silence. Be very still and open your mind. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. Listen in silence. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. Be very still and open your mind. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. God's voice is speaking to you now. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. Be very still and open your mind. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. God's voice speaks to Lesson 49 from A Course in Miracles. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. It is quite possible to listen to God's voice all through the day without interrupting your regular activities in any way. The part of your mind in which truth abides is in constant communication with God, whether you are aware of it or not. It is the other part of your mind that functions in the world and obeys the world's laws. It is this part that is constantly distracted, disorganized, and highly uncertain. The part that is listening to the voice of God is calm, always at rest, and wholly certain. It is really the only part there is. The other part is a wild illusion, frantic and distraught, but without reality of any kind. Try today not to listen to it. Try to identify with the part of your mind where stillness and peace reign forever. Try to hear God's voice called to you lovingly, reminding you that your Creator has not forgotten His Son. We will need at least 4 5-minute practice periods today, and more if possible. We will try actually to hear God's voice, reminding you of Him and of yourself. We will approach this happiest and holiest of thoughts with confidence, knowing that in doing so we are joining our will with the will of God. He wants you to hear His voice He gave it to you to be heard. Listen in deep silence. Be very still and open your mind. Go past all the raucous shrieks and sick imaginings that cover your real thoughts and obscure your eternal link with God. Sink deep into the peace that waits for you beyond the frantic, riotous thoughts and sights and sounds of this insane world. You do not live here. We are trying to reach your real home. We are trying to reach the place where you are truly welcome. We are trying to reach God. Do not forget to repeat today's idea very frequently. Do so with your eyes open when necessary, but closed when possible. And be sure to sit quietly and repeat the idea for today whenever you can, closing your eyes on the world and realizing that you are inviting God's voice to speak to you. Listen in deep silence. Be very still and open your mind. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. Listen in silence. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. Be very still and open your mind. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. God's voice is speaking to you now. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. Be very still and open your mind. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. God's voice speaks to me And now for the reflection on Lesson 49. I've often thought of communication with the divine to be like a telephone line that is always open. The telephone line may be something that we are interacting with or not. We may be speaking to the person on the other side of the line or not, but we are aware that there is a connection, that we are connected to something higher than what we are experiencing right now. And it's much the same with realizing that we speak with God every moment, that all through the day we can be present to that communication. Whether we are thinking about something else or engaged in something in our life that takes our attention, we can still be aware that I'm speaking to God. And I can look around me and I can see that communication taking place through the people in my life, through the circumstances. And this leads to something that the Course begins to talk about here. For one of the first times, it leads to what is called certainty. It says that it is the part of you that is constantly distracted, disorganized, and highly uncertain. This is your ego, that part of your mind that thinks that it is not communicating with God. But what is wholly certain is the voice for God, which is calm, which is always at rest. And so certainty is the experience of knowing somewhere deep inside of us that this is real. Perhaps I can't prove it in a worldly sense, but I know it to be true. And I feel this and I rest in this. And this is where this communication, this open communication with God leads us. So let this be a day then for realizing that God's voice does speak to us all through the day. And through this communication comes holy certainty.